Welcome to the Big Screen Symposium podcast. The Big Screen Symposium was held in Auckland at the Victory Events Centre on the 5th and 6th of April 2024. Celebrating New Zealand talent, the keynote address included 7 New Zealand actors with unique stories and outlooks. In this podcast, Cliff Curtis shares his thoughts on our 2024 theme, Stepping into the Unknown. This session was presented by Te Mangai Paho.
Kia ora koutou, kia ora everybody. He mihi ki te mana whenua o te rohe nei, Ngāti Whātua, kei a koutou ngā kai whakahaere o tēnei huihuinga. Me koutou katoa. It's a mean title. And I thought that's a perfect cue for me, because I'm not, the whole public speaking thing's not my bag. Usually I've got like a script and a director and, other people to help remember what I'm supposed to say, reminding me to say what I'm supposed to say. So, stepping out into the unknown, I thought, fantastic. I'm going to step out here and not have a clue. But that was Rangi's strategy. So you might see some similarities in our speaking style. So I looked up a quote, and the quote was something along the lines of, fearing the unknown is not as much as the fear of letting go of the known. That we get comfortable with ourselves and with who we think we are, and that perhaps that reminded me of the te kai a te wawai e kimi. So I looked at that and I thought, that's interesting, because it's not a direct translation. It actually wai kimi is actually to seek, and that speaks to what Pax was saying. Is that actually kimi is an active thing, and so that there's a relationship with the unknown, and in order to move into the unknown, we have to let go of the known. And another metaphor jumps to mind, is that in order to move forward, we have to take one foot off the ground before we can put the other one down. And that's the only way we can get anywhere. So again, this idea that living in the unknown is both profound in the expansiveness of that possibility, but it's also completely what we do every day. And I love creatively, I love sort of thinking about that. I discovered, like Lucy was saying, she discovered the moment that she realized she was going to die. I realized one day that the pattern of the world being round, the sphere in space, and that, I think I was flying somewhere and then landing somewhere, and some part of my brain realized, the illusion of night and day are exactly that. It's like it's always night and it's always day. And so we're always living in the state of continuum. And so I was really inspired by those sort of things, which takes me to another metaphor. Random, eh? Another metaphor, which is ki te whai ao, mai te pō ki te ao marama. So, mai te pō ki te ao marama. So, did any of you see the movie The Dark Horse? At the beginning of that movie, my character was mumbling away, and that's what I did. Mai te pō ki te ao marama, mai te pō ki te ao marama. Which is, from the darkness comes the world of light. And so we breathe in, we breathe out, we take a step forward, we wake and we sleep. And so I guess I'm a bit of a hippie. I'm a bit of a woo-woo wah-wah. Like I love the esoteric nature of life. And then somehow I have to ground myself in the practical nature of being a functional, workable person. You know, I'm a work in process still. But so yeah, I love that. I love that title. And then I sort of think, practically speaking, I guess I'm most known as an actor. For me, stepping into the unknown was, I like there's profanities allowed in here, eh? I like that. That makes me feel a little more comfortable because then I can be a little more authentic. I can tell you stories about my past. So a little bit like Pax, you know, my dad had a profound impact on me, but it was kind of like the reverse. Instead of being an immigrant who came to a strange land, he was a Maori man in his own land who was called a boy. And that had a profound impact on me. And who couldn't get a home with my mum in Wellington because of the time that they lived in. They had to get a Pākehā friend who was the boss to get the house for them to live in Poneke. That's all part of the urban drift. So my dad had a profound impact on me in a similar way, in that when I told him, you know, and a little bit like your mum too. My mum died when I was young, so she lives eternally in my mind in the perfect state. I've never been chopped in the neck by her, by my mum, but metaphorically perhaps I have. But my dad, when I told him that I was going to be a stand-up comedian, no, actor, he gave me a really profound piece of advice. And I was blown away because he was a blue-collar worker, you know, and I left school at 14 to become a blue-collar worker. So I did concrete, I was a builder, I did glazing, I did roofing, and, you know, and I would work at night in the bar to get a bit of money, and I did a lot of odd jobs. So I was sort of an odd jobs guy from the age of 14 to the age of 19 before I got into acting. When I finally told him, it's like, I'm going to go to drama school and I'm going to become an actor and hang out with Shane Rangi and and the likes. And he said to me, he gave me this incredible piece of advice. He said, "Oh, son, don't let anyone fuck you up the ass." And I was like, wow, thanks, Dad. That's deep. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. I did some of my mates. But yeah, I'm comfortable with all of that sort of thing. But, you know, but he wasn't wrong, you know, but it was like, it blew my mind, the step from where I'd come from to step into this whole world of possibility where you know, I grew up in a town where they'd lock the door. Kids would lock the door if they saw me walking down the street, to like stepping into the possibility where people in this industry were so kind and so generous to me. Ralph McAllister is one of my dear, dear friends. He's you know, he helped me, gain that confidence that I think Jess was talking about. Like own your shit, you know, find that confidence. And then from there, I did some acting for a couple of decades. And then the next big step for me was, was with producing. And then there's another great mentor of mine was Bill Gavin. Bill Gavin came back from overseas and started producing. He put together Whale Rider with John Barnett, and also my first lead role in Jubilee. That was the next big step. And he would say, Bill Gavin would say to me, like, don't stop telling yourself you're not good enough. You know, it's a big step. Now, that's a much bigger step, isn't it, into the unknown? Because we can talk about our industry and stuff, but really the internal work is really that struggle to sort of think, am I good enough? Can I take the step into being an actor? Then I take the step into being a producer. And he really encouraged me to sort of believe in myself as a producer. And I've been very, very lucky, again, to work with some of the producing projects that I've been a part of, and it's really helped me ground all of that esoteric stuff, and I really love producing, and I'm leaning it into it more and more and more, because it's really about setting up, because my other big influences were Meta, Don Sell, and Barry Barclay, who taught me about storytelling and the purpose of storytelling from a position of being Māori, and grounded it in a practical way, like in terms of fourth cinema, like what is that Indigenous cinema, like having a point of view that is distinct from the dominant worldview, and then making a place as a storyteller to tell our stories our way. And so they really encouraged me, and then that sort of is what drove me as a producer to step into that side of things. And I just really love the whole idea that, you know, I can help get things financed, and I can help stories get told according to some cultural values that they taught me and that I hold dear to. And so there's always a line to walk on that. I'll leave it with this, because I believe, I have a sense of certainty about this, that we have nowhere near reached our capacity as a nation in our sector. You know, I've been very privileged to speak at Parliament and as a part of, with Paul Miller, invited me to look at to maintain the incentives that the government continue to invest in our sector. A great privilege to be able to do that in Parliament. I've done that a couple. We've asked me to go to Parliament one time, another time, and to have worked globally, and to sort of work in the UK and work in Canada, work in North America, work in Hong Kong, Guangzhou, I was just there, Australia, and sort of get a sense of what's possible for us. And I really do think that our industry has grown immensely in the last couple of decades, and it's been amazing to see how our institutions, I want to acknowledge a lot of the Film Commission, Te Mangai Paho, a lot of these institutions and the government agencies that makes our industry possible, because without them, we're not quite there yet to compete on the international stage. We need that investment. We need to have international relationships that come in and support us to build our infrastructure, to build our craft, to give us the grounding so that we can also tell our own stories. So it's the sort of like, I remember Jeff Murphy like having a go at Peter Jackson, which I love Jeff, but he took a very strong view about like how the Hollywood system was taking over our system and all those sort of things. But I think we need both. That's my opinion. And I think we're in an incredibly exciting time. I think that I'm very excited by the possibilities that are coming out of Asia right now. I look at Hollywood, it's really interesting to see that, CJ bought WME, they bought its 5th season. I think Spielberg's company was sold to India. I think Legendary was sold to China. I think, Sony, of course, is Japan. And so that's a really interesting thing for me as a minority, supposedly, and sort of as a person of indigeneity, to see there's another cultural possibility. And if you sum all of those things up and you see how the world is getting tougher in our industry, a lot of the big companies and stuff, the Apples and the big conglomerates are contracting and they're wanting to do less. I think it's an incredibly exciting time for us to have this nexus where we connect culturally, and we have an awareness around cultural compliance and a cultural appropriateness, that we can work with one another. Look at all these beautiful people on the stage. We are not going out to tell the world how to be, but we can relate to the world how it is. I think there's huge opportunities for us right now and moving into the near future. So I want to thank you all for doing all the great work that you're doing, and with the honor of being able to take something so out there as going into the unknown and ground it in something that's really practical for us. So have a great conference. I'll see you later.
The Big Screen Symposium 2024 was presented by Script to Screen. We gratefully thank our event partners, the New Zealand Film Commission, Images and Sound, New Zealand On Air and Te Mangai Paho. Voiceover is by Jamie Irvine and the music is by Poddington Bear. You can read more about these speakers at our website, www.bigscreensymposium.com. This podcast is brought to you thanks to generous support from Images and Sound.